Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host, Nacho, and this week I'm joined by my colleagues,
RJ
and
Daan.
And we're going to be discussing, we're going to be asking ourselves, where have all the watches gone? Do we know? We don't know. We probably don't know. But you, RJ, this is a topic that comes from you.
Oh.
You told us that you went to London.
Yes.
And you didn't see a single watch the whole time you were there.
Well, that's not entirely true. I saw a watch on the tube.
Okay.
It was a Nautilus with a tourbillon.
Well, that's enough watches for everybody in
Yeah.
London, I think.
So
Not something you want to steal, actually.
No, exactly. You can buy it on replica.tw or
AliExpress,
something.
Temu, you know where
Exactly.
to find them.
Yeah.
But before we talk about the watches you saw or didn't see in London, let's see what's on the wrist. RJ, what's on your wrist today?
Today I'm wearing my Oris 65 diver, and this is the Fratello edition we did
2 years
a while
ago.
back. Yeah, 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. It's the Oris Star, basically. Or Fratello Star, we called it. And I put it on the oyster-like bracelet from Oris. And it's a neat watch. I don't wear it that often, but it's a very comfortable watch, basically.
Looks great on that really
does the
heavily tapered bracelet. It goes down, I think, to almost to 14.
Yeah, it's very small.
But it really suits the whole vintage vibe of the Diver 65, and even more so in the case of this one, which has a lot of obviously callbacks to some of the originals.
Original Oris Star, and I think we used a model from 68 as input for this one. And I love that. It has a glossy dial, and I really like it. Normally, I'm not that much a fan of shiny dials, but in this case, I think it really gives this watch a nice vintage look, while it's a modern watch that you can wear every day.
Definitely. And Daan, you're also wearing a Fratello limited edition, actually.
I am, and we're recording this the day before it goes live. It's the Jacques Bianchi JB200 Pool Pro Night Diver.
Exactly.
If I'm correct.
Yes. You've been briefed correctly.
Yes. And it's it's a really cool watch. It's we were talking about it before. It's more or less like a Seiko SKX vibe, but then a more original or different take on it. It's the Destro version. So the crown is on the wrong side for me, but the case is all black and the dial is fully loomed, which is cool, with a big octopus on it.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's really cool.
Yeah, the bezel is also fully loomed, and it's a 60 click bezel, which is really nice. And some bezel ASMR. Very nice.
Bezel action.
That's what you want. That's what you
Bezel
want
action.
from your bezel. And what else about it? Yeah, it's got a Swiss Soprod movement inside, and 200 meters of water resistance. And we're only making 250 of them, which will be sold through the Jacques Bianchi website.
Yep.
Obviously, this is all old news by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
They're likely even sold out as far as we know. But
Fingers crossed.
Really cool. Our latest limited edition, and what one which I'm particularly fond of. Man, you guys are both wearing limited editions. I didn't pull my weight, but on my wrist I have the Arcan Ultram GMT, which is a watch that's been getting a lot of wear recently. I actually was given got a hold of the NATO adapter. For this watch, but I have yet to try it because it's, I think, a bit of a fiddly process to get that spring bar out. It's like a friction fit bar, and you have to be a little bit careful.
So it comes with an extra end link, or
no. This was I think Kenneth from Arcan made it for the original, and sometimes he has them made. They come into production, but he usually orders very small batches, so you can sometimes get a hold of them. But I don't know if he's planning on releasing them anymore or whatnot. It's but I really want to try that out as we come into the summer.
Nice.
Yeah. But I really like this watch. I've been wearing it a lot. Size is good, and I do love that GMT function.
it's very Nacho.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that Vacheron GP vibe.
the overseas Everest, of course.
Vacheroni, Constantoni.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, it's I love wearing it, and it's been getting a lot of. It's competing for wrist time with the FXD basically recently, and the Seamaster. Those are the three watches that I can't keep off my wrist.
Competition to have.
Perfect. But let's get into the topic of watches, not seeing them on people's wrists.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, RJ. Because
I said, it wasn't exactly new, but it really it was very apparent that when I was in London, normally when I went to London in the past, I saw nice watches everywhere.
Right.
And it was a bit before the COVID period, and also way before when I was in banking. We had an office in London City. Yeah, so like beautiful watches everywhere around you.
On people's wrists,
yes,
not
also,
only in the shops.
No, on people's wrists, and also some very uncommon ones. And but now I was in London, I think a month ago or something, and nothing. Like it took me I think 3 days before I spotted a bridling on a tourist somewhere, but and then I kept track of that a little bit, and to other places I went, well, except Switzerland, but because there's I guess it's still a thing, but. I think people are more aware of the risk of wearing an expensive watch out in the open. And they make a very conscious choice of not wearing their watch in public places. Because I also believe that if you go to a certain restaurant or certain place that is a bit more protected or shielded off, there you see the nice watches again.
Right.
And
recently you were also in Disneyland.
Yeah.
and you also said there were not very many watches. Disneyland Paris, there were also not very many watches there.
No, and I go there once every year with my wife and daughter. We like it. My daughter loves it, of course. And in the past, you saw nice Rolexes and Breitlings and Omegas and so on. But this year also nothing. And that was very strange. And it's also not the case that people were wearing long sleeves that you don't see them. But it was also, we had one day of nice weather. In London was also... interestingly enough, good weather.
Wow.
Yeah, but no, they were just not there, and that's I feel it's a big change from a few years ago. And I think the robberies and theft cases, I don't think that helped. So I do believe that people are more aware, and I also have to say I'm also a little bit more aware these days that if I go somewhere, that I really think of, oh, what shall I wear? What shall I bring? Also, when I went to London, I also thought, let's not bring something gold or something Rolex.
But
nothing
something a bit
flashy,
more neutral.
I think this is really a European thing, because I went to Thailand at the beginning of the year, and everybody was just wearing whatever they wanted to wear.
They would chop your hand off there, right? If you do something.
Or not.
Indeed,
I mean, if people are wearing the watches, but it is an interesting thing, and especially like you said, especially in London, there's been a lot of news,
Definitely.
and we've all seen the videos of people, having their watches taken off of them, and it's obviously not something that you want to happen to you. So perhaps that has had that knock-on effect. Disneyland's a bit of an odd example, because you'd think, well, people are paying to go in the park, so it could be it's sort of a bit of a safe haven in some way, like that you might. Think that people wouldn't wear their watches.
Maybe they don't want to wear them on the roller coasters or something.
Could be
banging it.
Didn't stop me, but no. But I think in general, also when I go to the city center here, in the past it was easier to spot certain watches, and I also get it that if you're on a terrace, I also would not bring an expensive watch anymore.
Right.
That easily.
But where would you draw the line there? Like, what would be like because if you were wearing let's say a moon watch, regular Speedmaster.
Oh no,
you wouldn't be worried.
No,
right? But then where would you draw the line? Would like your day date, gold day date?
Yeah, gold day date or any Rolex basically that I have. I would refrain from bringing to cities like that or big cities or big public places.
Yeah.
Perhaps the gold Speedmaster, for example, or anything gold I would leave out.
Yeah.
But it's a bit annoying, and also. You also these days you see more and more that people look at your wrist first, that they see what you're wearing, and that can also be that watches are a bit more commodity now than they were like 10 years ago. Nobody cared in general. That it has become quite a big thing.
They went more mainstream, like during COVID and everything, when there was that big hype bubble. I think that basically people became a little bit more aware of that, obviously through social media as well. We've seen a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram, ourselves included, of course, creating content around watches that has become quite popular. So I think that is something that maybe it was watch enthusiasts that had this sort of voyeuristic walking through the public and looking at people's wrists first, but now it's become maybe more of a mainstream thing, and perhaps people who would otherwise have just worn their watches and not thought twice about it, you start seeing people looking at your wrist, and sometimes you do notice it, and it can be a bit of an uneasy feeling.
A lot of smartwatches instead.
True.
which can also be a thing of
Watch.
like practical reasons, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, that made me wonder, where did all the watches go?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Daan, what about you? You live in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
obviously.
I was thinking
What's your
about
experience like in Amsterdam?
I don't really think
day-to-day
about
life.
it. So when I
You
go
just
out the
stayed
door, I just exactly. I stay in my bunker and keep my watches
Fuck
there.
bunker.
You
But,
seal the.
Yeah, I don't know.
Our cameraman is laughing.
Whenever I go out by bike or maybe even walking, I don't really think about what I'm wearing on my wrist.
Okay, but do you see people wearing watches or
Yeah,
have you
but
noticed a shift there? Or?
no, I haven't been in watches for long enough to notice a shift. But
Right.
I still see watches in the city, and I also wear my own watches, and I luckily haven't had any trouble. I know a few people that have, but in my neighborhood there have been a few accidents or incidents. But especially on terraces of restaurants. But I really hope it won't prevent people from wearing their watches.
It's a bit of a sad thing, really,
yeah.
because I mean, thinking about a couple of like a holiday I have coming up later this year, and I obviously have like a watch that I might want to wear, but then you almost think, what if I go with something a little bit more subtle? Maybe wear something like my Arkin, wear something like my Citizen Diver, where I think that's probably not going to get the wrong kind of attention. Whereas if I wear something like the Seamaster or a Pelagos FXD, I also don't have the kinds of watches that might get that much attention, right? Like nothing full gold, nothing Rolex,
no diamonds.
So yeah, no diamonds, no thanks. But yeah, so I think in a way it does, the thought does cross your mind, and I think that what we're seeing is people, the wider public, becoming a little bit aware of it. That said, I can think of a lot of examples even outside of Switzerland, because like you say, Geneva is, you walk around and it's unbelievable. But that's
everyone wears a Roger Dubuis there.
Everybody.
Everyone.
Unbelievable. And they're all driving Lamborghinis.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. No, but in Madrid, for example, I was quite surprised to see a lot of people wearing quite nice watches. It does depend on the area of the city that you're in. If you're in the more touristy center of the city, you see maybe a little bit less. But if you're more in the business area or the sort of the luxury area called Serrano, it's you see a little bit more of people wearing watches.
Yeah.
But it's true that it's.
But do you think people have sold them?
No, I think they.
Surely
I
not.
was thinking about cities. I also went to Milan recently, and also there, I didn't see that many watches in the flesh. Well, that is a city where you normally see quite a few watches. But I do believe that people, they didn't sell them or put I don't know, but I do think they are more mindful about it and keep the watches at home or in the safe, at home or externally, and just bring them out if they have a nice dinner somewhere, or if they go to a private event or something, and just keep them at home if they go to a public place or sit on a terrace outside, or go to the beach, or something like that, or public transport. I remember when I went to London end of last year for the not Salon QP, it's the Watch Pro salon.
Yeah, Watch Pro. Yeah.
There was a guy telling me, can't recall who it was. I had to do a talk there, and someone approached me afterwards, and he told me that he got chased by several persons for wearing a Datejust, and for a long time. They really followed him for a long time. Then there was a very scary moment. So you have these examples that you hear, but then I never witnessed that. I just hear the stories from people who got robbed, or know someone who got robbed, or
ones that you read in the news and
exactly. But
this,
next thing you see is that you don't see that many watches anymore. And I think, hey, that's the consequence. Apparently,
Might be a connection there. Yeah.
That's the connection.
Well, there was in London specifically. There were not police cars, but sort of van utility vehicles that had signs on the back that gave people advice, tourists advice, and I guess the general public as well, that said, do not wear expensive watches in a visible manner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in winter, obviously that's not too much of an issue, because if you wear a long sleeve, it's, you just kind of tuck it under.
Wasn't that an ad?
Was it an ad?
Because I think
I
there
thought it was
was
Metropolitan
like,
Police.
Don't wear them. You can always sell them or something like that. And then it was like an ad for a website where you could sell your watches.
Maybe. Well, we'll double check that and we'll throw it up on the screen anyway. The little picture.
There was a weird thing about it.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Maybe I was wrong, but I thought it was the Met Police giving people advice.
okay.
But it could also be like viral marketing, very much
but
poor taste. Actually,
yeah.
Don't wear your watch, sell it. No, that's terrible advice. Just wear your watch. No, but it's true that I think that there's a newfound sort of wariness and a little
consciousness
bit of like people are making this conscious choice to play it safe, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Unfortunately,
the good thing is I think that there is still safety in the vast majority of watches. I mean, right, a Speedmaster you can wear without worrying too much. But yeah, I suppose that it's always the case that you have to be a little bit wary.
Well, but I know of a guy who was robbed or had an attempt to be robbed,
right,
for a watch that was worth nothing and just looked expensive.
But that can happen as well. That's
we had a case in the Netherlands that a guy was killed. He was shot. For a fake Rolex.
True.
Don't wear fake Rolex.
Also
in general, but because of this as well, definitely. No, but I think it's definitely. Imagine that's horrible for a fake Rolex. My gosh, it's. I have to say though that there's also examples that come to mind where I've seen a lot of watches being worn. This past weekend,
I think it was the friend of the guy who was wearing a fake Rolex.
Yeah, I think so
killed.
too. He stepped in.
He jumped in.
And got shot. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, it was about a watch.
Get a friend like that, but also don't wear a fake Rolex, please. But examples also come to mind where you see a lot of watches, even outside of Watches and Wonders and fairs and events like this, because obviously it's watch journalists coming together and wearing watches and very much consciously. But this past weekend, I was at the Dutch Pen Show. For Fountain Pen Show, you were supposed to go and you couldn't make it. So
it was my mom's birthday.
Took your ticket, and I was surprised at actually how many great watches people wore while I was there. A ton of Speedmasters.
Was it because of you, man?
No, I don't think that. No. It's absolutely not. But maybe it's again concentric circles. We've talked about the Parallel Passions episode of Fratello Talks, where we discussed fountain pens as well as being one of the things that's often there, as well as cameras.
I think it's very much the same space, right? Same.
If people appreciate nice things, then you see
Yeah.
some crossovers here and there.
But anything from Speedmasters, I saw a Reverso. There was a Breitling diver as well. There was a gentleman wearing a Seamaster diver, like the 2254, but the reference with a blue dial and the metal bezel. And there was also a gentleman who we spoke to last year already, who was wearing a vintage Omega diver, and this year he was wearing a Lemania monopusher.
I think he collects,
really nice.
except aside from selling nice fountain pens, vintage ones, I think he collects military watches, right?
I believe so. I didn't get his name again, but
I have his card at home. But,
cool. Yeah, but that gentleman's he's got some
but also there
great taste in watches.
It's like a private event, and it's
for sure.
It was in a hotel, I believe, so it's quite shielded from the outside.
You got to buy a ticket.
Exactly.
You entry is controlled.
Yeah.
So, and you get there by car, drive in, and go up. So,
and there will be other people that appreciate watches.
Yeah, definitely. It's very much different to just walking down the street, and you know, it's. I think that some degree of caution is something that we would definitely advise to people, especially with watches that cost thousands, or if not hundreds of thousands of euros. I mean, obviously, it's a risky thing.
I also believe I did a podcast with a Dutch newspaper podcast, Parool. Shout out to Wouter Laumans, crime reporter. He asked me to talk about watches and the value and robberies and so on. And I think the lead came from the robbery on a terrace in Amsterdam, where someone was robbed 2 years ago. But I think the most important thing is that it's a certain type of watch. Let's say it's a Rolex, Patek, AP. Yeah. Because those watches also equal currency. And even if you have a Rolex without box papers, just you grab from someone's wrist, you can get more money for it, in theory, than the retail price at the.
I suppose they're easy to flip. So you go to a pawn shop.
It equals money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think with other watches, it's not so much the case. But if you have a Patek Nautilus or a Royal Oak from AP or a sports Rolex or any Rolex these days, it's just money.
Yeah. No, and it's the only valuable thing people carry at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true because
your
a
wallet and your
smartphone-
phone, like everyone has a phone now, and your wallet doesn't contain any money anymore.
No.
Just cards. So the watch is the only valuable thing.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, it seems that that's probably a huge part of the reason why. But at the same time, I think it opens up the possibility for people to also just have a watch that they can wear that isn't that super fancy piece, like save
this
that-
beautiful Oris.
Oh yeah, for example, are those aren't still available? Are they? We have a couple, right?
We have a couple, and you know what?
There you go.
We'll put in some discount.
Exactly. We'll put in a discount code. Discount code. Don't get robbed.
Yeah.
Wear an Oris.
Can we do that? That could be. No.
Don't get robbed.
Wear an
and then you
Oris.
get 20% discount on this Oris.
Perfect. There we go.
Done deal.
That was that was completely off the cuff and not that was not a scripted thing. Nothing scripted on this podcast, which is
but it's true.
The great thing about it. But it's true, exactly. If
It
you
will
want an
be true
Oris,
right
then you
after this,
definitely won't get
recording.
robbed. Perfect. Yeah, but I think it all, like what I was saying is it opens up the possibility to be able to enjoy less expensive watches, less flashy pieces that you wear in town, and you don't have to worry about it.
Or from watch brands that you did not consider in the past. Yeah. So if you were very much into AP or Rolex, for example, but you don't want to get, you don't want to take the risk of getting robbed or mugged, then it's there's a lot of other nice alternatives out there that will not put you at risk.
Do you think that there is safety in wearing a watch that is very expensive but not very recognizable?
Oh, definitely.
Like, say you're wearing a I don't know. Would a watch thief be able to identify a Gerald Charles or a Roger Dubuis? They'd certainly
with Roger
know.
Dubuis, you see that
Dubuis.
it's something special. You see a tourbillon or two or three.
That's true. But a breguet, for example, a breguet.
Yeah. So if you have like a white gold breguet, marine, or I don't know, a classique, and nothing too fancy happens on the dial, I think there's
It's just
nothing
a
wrong
watch,
with it.
yeah.
That can be an option, I think. But there are many watches out there that are interesting and not, like I said, those are also not the watches, well, especially not breguet, that sell for retail or more on the pre-owned market. Yeah. And I think that's also something that the robbers have in mind. That hey, Rolex, you can flip any minute of the day.
Yeah, but I think it would be nice to see people wearing watches again, and perhaps it doesn't have to be the showstoppers, it doesn't have to be the Rolex APs Pateks, but yeah, I think people should still be able to enjoy wearing a watch on the wrist.
There's a guy in the office here or in the building with a nice Panerai.
We should rob him.
Yeah. Smack him in the head.
No, let's not do that. You don't rob the Panerai guy.
No, don't rob Panerai guys, man.
If he's wearing a Panerai,
wouldn't want to fight him.
You don't want to mess with him. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks guys for the great discussion.
Do we have a comment?
Yeah, we always have a comment.
A nice one.
This is
or an angry one.
Is it an angry comment? No, it's a nice comment.
Okay.
It's a nice comment. It's a nice, short, sweet, and to the point comment from Wristwatch Workshop, and he says, "Advice for the ages there. Just make a good and nice watch."
Well, they should do
solid
that.
advice. Yeah, but we were discussing, it's again from the episode about hype watches, where brands perhaps get a little bit wrapped up in the hype, and yeah, don't keep an eye on the hype. Just make a good, nice watch.
Don't believe the hype, man, as Public Enemy said.
Exactly. Perfect. And on that note, we'll finish up today. So, of course, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you live in a city where people wear a lot of watches? Do you spot watches often while you're out and about? Or do you not see any watches and, like us, wonder where the watches have all gone? Leave a comment below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and, of course, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.